you so much. And remember, if you want to catch the shows regularly, get yourself over to Dov Baron Leadership, which is my professional page here on Facebook. And if you go over to that page and you click on, oh, look at all this is lovely, thank you. And click on there to join that page and turn on the notifications. You'll get to see me live at least once a week, which is Saturday mornings at 10. I do a Leadership Unscripted show, totally unscripted, and we talk about something really meaty and juicy and good stuff. But this is an unscheduled one, so I wanted to jump in here and tell you what I was thinking about. So I'm having this great conversation with this guy who I don't know, who had reached out to me through whatever means, and he apparently had heard of me. He knew me and had done a ton of research into me, and he was asking me why I don't teach other people to build the kind of following and the kind of notoriety that I've been able to build. And I said, well, to be honest with you, it never freaking crossed my mind. And that's true. And he said, do you know how many people would love to be able to do what you've done? Do you know how many people would love to know how to get the level of social footprint that you've had in all those places that you are recognized? And I was like, no, it hadn't crossed my mind. That's not why I do it. That's just kind of the thing that happens as a result of it, but it's not what I do. So I was like, oh, that's very interesting. And I thought, well, what is that? What is it that I'm able to do? And so it made me start to think. And I thought, it's access. It's access. So a lot of the people who follow me, you know, have following me because through me they get access to people they would not get access to. What do I mean by that? I mean, think about my shows. So not just talking about this show, which is Dov Baron Leadership Unscripted, but my iTunes show, the show that I do in interviews, where I do a show, and it's Dov Baron's Leadership and Loyalty Tips for Executives. You can find it on iTunes. You can also find it on YouTube. Suggest that you go over there and subscribe to that channel, because you're going to get such amazing, amazing access. What I mean by that is, listen, I want you to think about getting access to a multi-millionaire, getting access to somebody who is very powerful in the world of leadership, in the world of entrepreneurship, in the world of politics, in the world of anything you want. You know, what would it cost you to get an hour with that person? I know what I charge for an hour, and I know that some of those people charge at least what I charge for an hour. So what would it cost you to get an hour of my time? What would it cost you to get an hour of any of these great leaders' times? And the answer is a shitload. I mean, it would cost you a ton. Yet, you can get access to these people via my podcast. No, not just my podcast, any of these podcasts, they give you such amazing access. And this is why, you know, for years when I was starting out, you know, I read biographies. I did anything I could. I went to presentations. I paid a ton of money to go to dinners and just to potentially get in front of, get recognized, get to see these people, potentially even get a photograph with them. But really, what did I want? Did I want a photograph? No, of course I didn't want a photograph. I didn't care about the photograph. What I really wanted from them was a tap into their knowledge, a way to sort of ask them a question, a way to find out a little secret to their success. And that was what I really, really wanted. And I'm guessing that's a lot of what you want, right? You want to be able to tap into the great minds of entrepreneurship, the great minds of leadership, the great minds of politics, the great minds of athletes, the great minds of people who are doing outstanding things. In fact, if you want to stand out, you have got to get access to people who are outstanding, and you've got to follow their lead. You've got to listen to what it is they're saying and tap into that. My show has given me that, but here's more importantly, it gives you that. Just let me give you an example. So today, this is just today. Today, I interviewed a Canadian member of Parliament, Diane Watts. She's a Canadian member of Parliament. We discussed politics. We discussed women in politics. We discussed what it means to be a woman in politics. We discussed Donald Trump. We discussed Hillary Clinton. We discussed Buddhism. I mean, we had conversations that you just don't get with those kinds of people. How cool is that, right? You get that. Now, that show's not out yet, and actually I'm going to mention a few shows that are not out yet, but you can keep your eye on for them. Again, go to YouTube, subscribe to my YouTube channel. You'll find it, Dov Baron, Full Monty Leadership. Just click on that, subscribe to that channel, and you get updates when they come out. You can go to iTunes, you can subscribe to the podcast on there, Dov Baron Leadership and Loyalty Tips. So there's all kinds of ways to get access to these things. Diane was very interesting conversation. Not what you would expect. Not what you would expect at all. So, I mean, for instance, do you think about a politician being Buddhist? Do you think a politician can even say that they're Buddhist? That's interesting, isn't it? We talked about the cult of personality. The cult of personality in leadership today, in politics today. So what does that mean? Well, what I mean is, Donald Trump was elected via the cult of personality. That also happened with Justin Trudeau. We talked about the differences between those two things and what we're seeing in politics today. So really cool. Another interview that I did very recently was with Daniel DiPiazza. Right? Daniel DiPiazza. Now, who's Daniel DiPiazza? Well, I'm sure that if you are a young entrepreneur, you know exactly who he is. He is rich 20-something, rich20something.com. I just interviewed this guy. What a cool guy. The guy is, as we interviewed him, 29 years old. 29 years old, started 3 companies, made each one of them 6 figures with no financial backing, did amazing things, has just released a book, a Random House, I think it was, a Penguin book, that's already going massively. He's been featured in Fortune magazine, he's been featured in Time magazine, featured all over the place. I mean, this guy is bright. This guy is so on it. And he's in his 20s, guys. I mean, he's like 29 years old. We talked about entrepreneurship. We talked about creativity. We talked about that this is the age of the entrepreneur and the creative, and how you've got to be that, how you've got to be prolific, but you've also got to learn how to market. We talked about those kinds of things, but we also talked about psychedelics and the importance of opening your mind and being more expansive. I mean, this is the kind of access you get. This is the thing you're like, if you could sit down with a 29-year-old and go, hey, you've made tons of money and you've had all kinds of success and you've got all this notoriety, and by the way, you did it in just over 2 years. I mean, like, taken off like a rocket. If you've got an access to that guy, you got to sit down with that guy and listen to him, give you some tips. Why the hell wouldn't you? Of course you would. It'd be crazy not to, right? So I just interviewed him. There's another point of access for you. That's another one. It's absolutely mind-blowing. That's just 2. That's just 2 of the outstanding people that I've recently got to interview. And there are over 370, I think, 380 of these interviews on iTunes now. Just so you know, I've got about 20 in the can. So I've got a whole bunch more that we've not even put out there yet. What I want you to think about is this. I want you to think about, if you want to be smarter, then you've got to hang around people who are smarter than you. You've got to get access to these people and do whatever you can to meet them. Get out there. If you can find a way to go to a conference that they're at, go to that conference, go meet them, shake a hand. It makes all the difference in the world. If you get a chance to learn from them in some way, read a book that they wrote, read it. If you get a chance to watch an interview that they've done, watch it. But, think about being able to have access to an intimate conversation. And I promise you, these are very intimate conversations. I ask stuff that most people don't ask. We've had conversations about what it was like to be in a particular situation. I won't go into it too much right now, but you would never ask. Here's another example. I just recently interviewed Claude Silver. Now you go, well, who's Claude Silver? Claude Silver is the very first Chief Heart Officer. She's the Chief Heart Officer for VaynerMedia. You may have heard of them, small company, Gary Vaynerchuk's media company, right? I interviewed Claude Silver. What an amazing lady this lady is. She's totally heart-centered. She's in charge of the culture. She's about making sure that all the hearts are connected inside VaynerMedia. And we talked about Gary Vaynerchuk. We talked about the hustle, what it really is, what it really isn't. We talked about what it means to be a culture and how to develop a culture and how to make a culture actually work, and what it means to work for a place where the work is meaningful and does it matter, and how do you create meaningful work for your people. This is the kind of access you can't even dream of. I mean, I remember when I was in my 20s, even in my 30s, and I could never get access to those kinds of people. And I had some pretty far reach. You get the opportunity to have that kind of access now. I think that's pretty cool. I think that's pretty amazing, right? I mean, it's just awesome. You get to have that kind of access right now. That's what you get to do. It's not difficult. All you do is go in and tune in to my show. And there you go. There's the scenery again. Isn't that lovely? I don't know why I did that. I didn't plan on doing it. I'll turn it back. There you go. So I just wanted to share this with you because I'm outside and I'm just looking around and I'm seeing this beautiful scenery. Look at this. Hold on a sec. You can see over my shoulder the big cruise ships going by on the ocean. Just lovely standing by the park. Just gorgeous. Anyway, beautiful day here. And I was out for this walk and just wanted to get a little bit of air because I'm going to go back and do a couple of hours more work and didn't want to miss this gorgeous day. But as I was out walking, I thought, you know, I really want people to grasp this, because I think in this multimedia world, in this social media world, in this world where we are bombarded by stuff, a lot of this stuff is pretty pointless and attention grabbing, but not having a lot of substance. And I had this great conversation with Daniel Di Piazzi, and we talked about that attention is trained. And what I mean by that is, you know, that we talked about people having the attention span of a goldfish is one of the things we talked about. And one of the things he said is, you know, that's very true, but it's also, we're trained away from having attention, but we can also be trained to have attention. We have to train ourselves to have greater attention. And so in this world of where attention is so rare, where people are putting in so little effort into actually consuming valuable stuff, I want to challenge you to give yourself that time. You know, you could literally spend a day, a year, every day for the next year going through my podcasts and listening to these profound insights, because there's so many. Like I said, there's more than 380 or something. Go through them and just take in the knowledge. Give yourself an hour a day to sit with those podcasts and take notes. And you will be tapping in to the most successful leaders, entrepreneurs, marketers, people who've done things that you would even dream of. Imagine getting an hour in a room with that person. That would be pretty amazing. I've given you that access. You want to be outstanding? You want to stand out? Then be outstanding. Be outstanding means get yourself around people who are outstanding. Tap into that resource. That's all it is. That's all I wanted to do. That's all I wanted to share with you, because it's so easy to get distracted and so easy to pull off and another ping on the email or whatever it is, or go check your Snapchat or your Instagram or your Twitter or whatever it is, rather than actually saying, no, you know what, I'm going to sit down, I'm going to listen, I'm going to watch, I'm going to pay attention to this particular podcast, I'm going to take notes, not even just mine, there's so many great ones out there, but pick and go, okay, let me just look at this, because I promise you there's things you can learn that you've never even dreamed of that will be so beneficial to you being a leader in your life, for you really becoming outstanding. So this is it. That's my gift to you. Dov Baron, Leadership Unscripted show, right here, totally unscripted. I hope it's been valuable to you. And until next time, this is Dov Baron saying, stay curious, my friend. Stay curious about how you can become a little more attentive rather than distracted. Till next time, Dov Baron, I'm out.